Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ocean Spit, the little show about big things. Hope you guys are having a great day today. Today is Friday, October 11th, and I hope you're having a great morning. It's a beautiful October day out there. The sun is shining. It's my favorite time of year, and hope yours too. Check the website, TonyOceanMusic.com, and give us a call at 847-769-8609. Every show is dedicated to the first responders, but mostly it's dedicated to people like you. Take the time and watch the show. Either you're watching it during your lunchtime hour or you're watching any time during the day on the 5 different social media outlets. We are coming to you live from the Tony Ocean Show Facebook page, the Mo Carraro Facebook page. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, and the Ocean's Pit Facebook page. All of us live here at 12 o'clock. Got a great show lined up for you guys today. My good friend Tom Zappa will be joining us, talk a little bit about stocks, but mostly we're going to talk about John, Paul, George, and Ringo. That's right, the Beatles. We'll be talking about that. It's showtime, so let's go to work. Thank you, Dina Manzella from Seventh Heaven, for that great intro. All right, guys, we got a great show lined up for you. Hope you guys are having a great day. First of all, I want to thank everybody that showed up at Tavern on the Point last night in beautiful Edison Park, Illinois. John and the staff, you did an incredible job. I want to thank Jim Irwin from TNT, the number one AC/DC tribute band in the Midwest, stopping by and some songs. I want to thank my good friend Regina Karma for joining us with a great voice that she has. Frankie Setta coming by and doing some Dean. So, and of course, Jerry Jams. Thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun seeing the Chicago Honey Bears, Patrice and the crew. Thank you guys so much. Tonight we'll be at Chicago Prime Steakhouse, 8 o'clock showtime with Double T Tony Toto. Tomorrow we'll be at Ron Onesti's Club Arcada Speakeasy in St. Charles with the main event band. That's an 8:30 hit. Sunday, Ocean's Rat Pack will be at the Royal Palace Theater in Joliet, or Joliet, depends on how you pronounce it. That's a 5 o'clock show. Monday, don't forget, we'll be on the Columbus Day Parade. Our own float, the Tony Ocean float, is going to happen this Monday, October 14th. It's going to be a lot of fun. But also today, we got my good friend Tommy Zappa coming up. We'll be talking Beatles, like we said. But before we do that, let's get right to Ace Hardware. Ace is the place. Buy local, shop local, supporting neighbors before they were neighborhoods. Norridge, Des Plaines, Evergreen Park, Warrenville, Mesa, Arizona, and a brand new one coming to Elmwood Park on Harlem Avenue. Our good friends from Ace Hardware. U-Haul rentals at all of the locations are available. They're here for your moving needs, personal business, small loads. They have you covered. Take advantage of the auto key programming at all their stores. They program CarCut keys up to 50% less than the dealership. Visit the Helpful Hub to speak to a certified team member. That's Ace Hardware. Ace is the place. Buy local, shop local, helping neighbors before they were neighborhoods. And if you're going to go with that, one more sponsor before we bring Tom on, folks. Let's talk about my good friend Mary Grievous. And you got to love Mary Grievous because you got to love real estate, buying or selling in the Chicagoland area. Mary Grievous, the perfect real estate professional. Whether you're putting your home on the market or looking for your dream home, give her a call today. She's available to assist buyers for sell by owners, expired listings, Berkshire Hathaway Stark Real Estate. Go to mgrievous@starkre.com or give Mary a call at 630-678-1725. That's Mary Grievous with all her real estate needs. She's going to take care of if you're buying or selling your home. And if you're going to talk about Mary Grievous, you also have to talk about Mary Grievous with NTD Vacations. And you know what that means again? You missed the cruise in January with us. How about another chance to join us March 22nd to March 30th, 2025. It's the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line Chicago Music Cruise, Oasis of the Seas, 8 days. Last one was 6 days. This one is 8 days. Spring break. It's going to be great. Fort Lauderdale, Curacao, Aruba, and Coco Key, Bahamas. And the acts are going to be fantastic. My good friend Wendy Thompson with her tribute to Britney Spears and Marilyn Monroe. Scott Chillers from WLS, Mojo's Jukebox, my new rock band. How about Frankie Hollywood, Boom Boom Rodriguez from GCI, Mark Odette and Yacht Rock, the Jersey Girls, all three of them will be there. Tony Ocean in the main event band, and Hillbilly Rock Stars, the number one country band in the city of Chicago, and the ringleaders themselves, Seventh Heaven. All of us, 8 days. Go to ChicagoMusicCruise.com and book it. Put in Tony Ocean or give Mary a call at 630-688-1725 and tell them we want to go on the Ocean with Ocean, March 22nd through March 30th, 2025. All right, so couple things. One more thing I have to say. We lost a very good friend of ours in the Melrose Park, Chicago community. Former police chief of North Lake and Stone Park, Illinois. We lost our good friend Seymour. It's just what a great guy he was, and his lovely wife Rosemary. They come to the shows all the time, and always you can see him sitting down at the corner of their favorite table at Taverna on Division. So Seymour has passed away. He had some health issues the last year, so our prayers go out to the family. And Rosemary, you know we're here if you need us. One more time to our good friend Seymour up in heaven. It's a real sad loss. We lost our good friend Seymour. So, okay, Beatles, right? We talk Beatles, the greatest. Some people say they're the greatest band ever. I don't know. Let's real fast. Ryan Lewis, Daryl Armstrong, Maris Mary, Jerry Jams, Kathy Eppley. We got California, Iowa, Ohio in the house. Say hello to Arizona. Buddy, great seeing you last night. Jill from Indiana. Zoe Shepard. What's up, Danny Ramundi? Everybody. All right. So.
And before you go any further,
yeah.
Hello to Carol and Dan Manatti. I took dance lessons with them 20 years ago.
You gotta love Carol and Dan. Great people. Absolutely. Gotta love it. Tom Zappa is our guest. And the question people asked, is he related to Frank? I don't think so. Maybe you are.
No relation.
No relation. But you know what? You can use that in restaurants. You know, it might get you a table faster.
I used to get a lot of that, 45, 50 years ago when I was in high school. Are you related? I mean, everybody would ask me. Not so much anymore because he's been dead for 30 years. So.
Well, you got it. Tom Zappa's joining us today. Tom, where were you born, brother?
Chicago
in the city
Rush
or suburbs?
Presbyterian St. Luke's.
Okay. You come from a big family?
No. I have a younger sister, 5 years younger than me. She lives in Florida. I stayed up here. I've got two kids. One lives in Nashville. The other lives in Mission Viejo, California. So those are my vacations.
5 grandkids, right? 5 grandkids.
I got 5 grandkids, yes.
Congratulations. We just became grandparents for the first time. Tom, it's interesting. You mentioned Florida. Was your daughter anywhere near all that crazy stuff?
No, that's my younger sister, and she lives in North Fort Myers. And she texted me and told me that the stuff in the yard got thrown around, but nothing hit the house, and she's okay. So it kind of skirted out of her way. It hit more of northern Florida, I guess.
Yeah, and again, our prayers go out to all our people up in Florida. I don't know how many deaths between Hurricane Alina and Hurricane Milton now, with South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Fort Myers. Just our prayers go out to everybody there. And I heard some of my friends, everybody actually survived, so thank God with that. But there's a lot of deaths happening, Ryan, so it's crazy. Ellie Weinhardt's watching. Of course, she's fantastic. #1 Joan Rivers impersonator. She's also in the movie One A League of Her Own with Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. You got to love our good friend, Ellie Weinhardt. All right, so Tom Zappa. Why the Beatles?
Well, I think they changed popular music, plain and simple. And there's a number of reasons for that. I can think of two reasons off the bat. One, the day the music died, February 3rd, 1959. Now, this is actually 5 years, almost to the day, that the Beatles stepped on stage of the Ed Sullivan Show. And I'm talking about the death of Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper.
Big Bopper, yeah.
And the reason why is because I think that we lost a lot of music spirit that day, and probably maybe a greater songwriter than Lennon and McCartney and Buddy Holly. I really feel that way. And I've always wondered if the Beatles would have been as big of a hit as they were if Holly would have lived. And it's an answer that we'll never know.
No, it's a good question, because a big
We'll never
influence. Yeah, a big influence to John and Paul was Buddy Holly and the Everly
absolutely.
Brothers. Yeah, a big.
Because they covered several of their songs.
Words of Love. They did.
Words
Yeah.
of Love.
Yeah.
Crying, Waiting, Hoping.
Yeah,
That'll
yeah.
Be the Day.
Yeah.
There's a few others.
Sure.
But in fact, when the Beatles were playing as the Quarrymen, now this was the band that John Lennon started, I think, around the mid-50s. I think Paul joined in 57. And then I think he got George to join because George was a good lead player. They needed a lead guitar player.
Good.
So, but as the Quarrymen, they were already doing covers of Buddy Holly when he was still living.
Right, they were still doing those covers, and then they became the Silver Beatles, right? Or Silver Beatles right after that, before they became the Beatles, whatever it was.
Correct.
And the question that I asked you before the show, and I don't know if people ever wondered this.
Well, I didn't tell you the second reason why which I think led to the actual explosion of the Beatles. And
Yes.
I think that, and I'm talking about the Kennedy assassination. Now, I lived through this. I was in second grade at the time. And I'll never forget when the Kennedy assassination actually happened. It happened about 1:00 in the afternoon. Somebody came in and gave my teacher a note. Her face went white. I mean, absolutely white. And about a couple minutes later, they did over the loudspeakers in the school that, the president had been shot and assassinated. So, and that happened November of 63. Well, the Beatles stepped on the scene February 9th, 1964. And the country was still in a moral depression. This is how I feel. I mean,
And that, makes a lot of sense.
I was 7 years old, but I mean, I can remember back, and I mean, that's how the country felt. I really believe that. And I think that they were looking for something uplifting and joyous. And what's better to do that than music? I mean, that gives everybody life.
I mean, let's put it, Tom, you make a lot of sense. Even during the pandemic or the flu, however you want to look at it, all we had was music. All we had was these podcasts and music and people that brought us to that really made us get through all that situation. So I can understand why the Beatles came at the right place at the right time. Like I said, we talked earlier, the Stones went to America like 2 years before, and they flopped. So it was important. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So the thing is, so the Beatles came on February 9th, 1964, and they were on the Ed Sullivan Show. So I was actually at my grandma's house in Cicero when this happened, and my mom and my dad ran a paper company up in Rockford at the time. But we would come in like usually 3 out of 4 weekends a month to go to my grandma and grandpa's house, and they lived in Cicero. So here we are. It was 7:00 at night because that's what time Sullivan came on, and we're the TV's on, we're still there. So I'm watching this thing that, I didn't really know who they were, but I'd heard about them. And I think I might have heard one or two songs.
Yeah.
From the first song that McCartney sang, I was hooked. I mean, the first few bars, the first song was All My Loving.
All My Loving. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Yeah, the place
Great
went
tune.
ballistic.
And
Yeah.
then the next one was Till There Was You, and I think
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
She Loves You. I saw her standing there, one of my favorite all-time Beatles songs. And then I Want to Hold Your Hand was the last one. Well, by that time, they started to become, I think by the next day, they knew that, that the American population wanted to see more of them.
Sure.
They came back on the Sullivan Show 3 straight Sundays.
How about it? Right.
They came back on the next Sunday, I think it was February 16th, 64, and they played at a hotel in Miami. The only song they replayed again was All My Loving. They played again the next week. I don't know where that was, but in between there, they started doing these concerts around the United States, and you can go on YouTube and check these out. They're great. They're all in black and white, just like all just like all the Ed Sullivan shows are.
Sure. Yeah.
And the weird thing about it is, I think it only costs like a couple bucks to get in these shows. Everybody always says you couldn't hear anything because all the girls were screaming and all that kind of stuff. But the weird thing is all of these concerts only lasted about 35 or 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember even like when Dick Clark would do his, bring his own stars of different singers, come up, everybody sing 2 songs, and that would be it. So, but it was Storm that they just destroyed America. They came in there and people just went, wow. Good looking guys, and the haircuts, which weren't really that long compared to Tom, we did talk about that. But one of the questions I asked you, if you're Beatle fans, first of all, Tom Zappa's joining us, folks, talking about Beatles. It's a great Friday, by the way. It's the 11th of October. And I don't know, Stu Sutcliffe, if he was still in the band. I don't know if he actually really played. I'm not quite sure. But if they would have made it if Pete Best was still their drummer. And like we said, I don't think so. Ringo was definitely the touch that they needed, the glue.
Well, from everything I've read and heard, and a lot of what I've heard has been on the Sirius XM Beatles channel. And that's kind of reinvigorated my thoughts about everything. Every Saturday morning at 6 a.m, I'm usually up and I'm listening to the encore presentation of the Fab Forum. And it's a show that Sirius puts on, or the Beatles station puts on, every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, our time. And they'll have people calling in and talking about any times that somebody's met a Beatle, or if they've had any thing to do with the Beatles, or how they got to like the Beatles, stuff like that. And then they'll have on a musical guest or two, and how that musical guest was influenced by them.
Oh,
and
okay.
And they've had some Chicago people on, like they've had Lee Loughnane from Chicago.
Right.
They've had Carl Giammarese. They've had
From
him
the
on
Buckinghams.
a couple times from the Buckinghams.
Yeah,
And they're always asking him the question, how were you influenced by him? Did you ever meet him? That kind of stuff. And on this program, they've got 2 disc jockeys from New York, and then they've got a Beatles expert. His name is Tom Frangione. And whenever you're listening to them every week, they tell you anything new that's going on. And that's how I knew about the documentaries coming out. There's the new documentary that just came out yesterday called Daytime Revolution. And it's about, the only problem with the movie, it's only being shown right now in one movie theater, and it's in Glenview. So I'm
Okay.
figuring I'll probably just wait till it comes on Disney. It'll be free anyway.
It'll come on. Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. Right. If you
but
get into Disney, if you have Disney, yeah. But yeah, I love that the Beatles stuff, like I said. And what I was concerned, people maybe not realize this too, but Brian Epstein. I mean, you got to think about something. I don't think they would have made it without Brian.
I agree. I agree with that.
He did everything for that.
In the very beginning, I think that they needed a glue to keep them together, get them the gigs, give them this persona. And I think that's what Brian Epstein did for them. Now, when he died, there was definitely a blow to the four of them. I think that they lost their spiritual and leader. Absolutely.
Correct.
But I think you asked me before whether or not they would have stayed together. I think they probably would have ended up breaking up anyway.
Anyway,
And a lot of the reason is because John and Paul were definitely stunting the growth of George. And let's face it, I think that after they dissolved, to me, George put out the best pieces of work.
I think so too. And even if you look at the songs he wrote for the Beatle catalog, I think they're incredible songs. I Need You Alone. I Need You from the Help album. I mean, well, that's an incredible song. I mean, he really didn't get much credibility until Something or While My Guitar Gently Weeps. But think for yourself. Even Don't Bother Me from the first record. I mean, he had some good Taxman. He did good stuff.
I will tell you one of my favorite songs that never got any notoriety at all is I Want to Tell You. And it's on the Revolver album.
I want to tell you. Great song, man. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So I'm going to tell you a song to listen to that you probably haven't listened to. And it's on, I'm listening to the Fab Forum one night, and on comes this song, and it was I Want to Tell Ya with some fantastic lead riffs on it. And it turns out it was George Harrison live in Japan. And Eric Clapton was on tour with them.
Right. Was it 70s? I think it might have been 77, if I'm correct.
No, it was 91.
No? Oh, 91. Okay.
Now, this was right after Eric Clapton's son died and that mishap in New York where the kid ran out the window. And it was
right.
And so, him and George were really good buddies and all that. So he asked George to go on tour with him. Well, I'm going to tell you, that album is fantastic. It's called Live in Japan. If all you people out there like the Beatles, a lot of it is George's music, but he does have some Beatles. The first two songs on the album were Beatles songs. It was I Want to Tell You, and the second song was Brown Shoe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. You got to love it. And they were so close that some people might not know. George Harrison, Eric Clapton, of
married
course.
His wife.
And then Eric Clapton writes the song Layla, which is about Patty Boyd. And they still stayed friends while they were married. I mean, that is so, I think that's so George, though. I don't think Lennon would ever been able to do that. But George, I think, because he was more like laid back, peace and love, the way he was just so.
Right.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. Guys, Tom Zappa, while we're talking Beatles here. So let's talk to another quick sponsor before we keep going. First of all, I want to say hello to Dave Antonelli. Thank you, Dave, for yesterday, buddy. And Donald, great seeing you. Talk about Armando Supermarkets, 925 Liberty Street in Elgin, Illinois. Buy local, shop local. And Mike and Gigi from Crash Champions Collision Auto Repair for all your collision and auto repair needs. Go to crashchampions.com. And let's not forget my good buddy Sal from Deutsch Power Center, servicing the construction and diesel industry in Chicago for the last 100 years. That's Deutsch Power Center. And breaking news again, folks, the New York Yankees have won and going to round 2, baby. Congratulations, beating the Kansas City Royals 3-1 and beating them 3-1 yesterday. Congratulations to my New York Yankees. Tom Zappa's with us, folks. I have General. Great seeing you last night as well. All right, so you got us. Okay, so they're in there. They're doing their done. They took over the world. And all of a sudden now, Hard Day's Night, which I still watch the movie. It's still great movie, black and white, running down the streets. The train scene alone. Hey, Pamela, for asking, who's a little old man? And run for them. I mean, and how about Lennon when he has the bottle? Lennon, are you listening to me? And he's snorting the bottle of Coke. Remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and they were just fantastic. Richard Lester, I think, was a director. He did a great job. What'd you think of the movie, Tom?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid, but I would love to see it again. I
bought it on Blu-ray. I bought it on Blu-ray, Tom. You should see what it looks like now. I mean, wow.
One of my favorite soundtracks and one of my favorite albums. There is not a bad song on the album. I love, but people ask me all the time, what's my favorite song? What's my favorite album? Honestly, I love all of them.
Yeah.
I love Hard Day's Nights, one of my favorites, but I love Abbey Road. I think the Abbey Road medley is the greatest rock piece jam in history. I
agree. And it's almost like they had these songs, they couldn't finish them from the story that I hear, right? And they just combined them all together. What an ingenious idea. My Beatle take on, I loved when they got to Sgt. Pepper, I kind of started to lose interest. Not really lose interest, but I wanted the Beatles 6 and Beatles 65 and Hard Day's Night and Help. The minute they got into that psychedelic, I mean, Sgt. Pepper was a great album. Best album of all time. I don't know if it's the best album of all time, but
I think it's been voted the best Beatle album of all time.
Correct.
It's been voted that, but I like them all. I mean, I love all the songs on there too. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think so too, and it's fantastic. And as long as we were also talking about Hard Day's Night, then they went color and they made Help, which was that soundtrack. There's not a bad song on that either.
No. I love all those songs.
You gotta love them.
The night before, you're gonna lose that girl.
Another girl. Oh, I've got another girl. I mean, you gotta love that stuff. And the great songs
stuff.
were great. And how about when they all went into the same house? It was 4 different doors, but it was actually the same house. I mean, it was so cool what the Beatles did. And of course, Ed Sullivan. And you're right. You can ask what's your favorite song? What's your favorite album? That's going to be different to say. But can I ask you, who's your favorite Beatle? Let me just tell you mine, and then you can do your thing. I start with John Lennon. I go to Ringo Starr. I go to George Harrison. Paul McCartney is my least favorite. What about yours?
I don't really know if I ever had a favorite. I loved all 4 of them. I'd say, after they broke up again, I like George Harrison's body of work the best.
I agree.
I love All Things Must Pass. I think is just a classic.
What about What Is Life? Oh,
that's a great song. Apple Struffles.
All those years ago. Yeah. Cracker Box Palace. I love that. Ding dong, ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong. Bring out the old ring in the new. I mean, that's when he had the Dark Horse era years. But
that would have been if Lennon and McCartney would have let him put more songs on the albums, because they usually only let him put 1 or 2 songs on the album.
Correct.
They were all written by John and Paul. Now, another thing. Everybody out there, if you want to know, usually John or Paul wrote the song. It wasn't both of them.
Correct.
Whenever they wrote the song, they would always put both of their names on there. But you usually knew who wrote it because he was singing it.
Correct.
If John was singing the song, it was his song.
Right. Tom, do you think, I wonder how Lennon got first before McCartney, because L came before M?
Well,
it could have been McCartney. It could have been McCartney Lennon.
Lennon was the soul of the Beatles. But I think that the moving force behind the Beatles was really McCartney, because McCartney was the workhorse. He was always the one to get everybody in the studios to make the music. And so I think that, and not only that, Lennon was the leader of the band. He started the band. He was the initial guy in the Quarrymen, and the Quarrymen were before the Beatles.
Yeah, he was the guy, actually, and of course he was the most outspoken, as we all know that. Even the comment in 1966, where they were more popular than God, which of course was taken out of context. He never meant that. He just meant, let's be honest. Right. Even these kids these days, if you're at and I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but if you're in a Taylor Swift concert in the front row, you don't care about God. You care about Taylor Swift, right? What I mean? Right. And at that time, when those girls were screaming, God was the last thing on their mind. It was, I want John, Paul, George, I want Ringo. And of course, the press, I think it's funny, because if Ringo would have said that comment, they probably wouldn't have said too much. It's just because it came from the cocky John Lennon, I think they targeted him on that.
Right.
And it's crazy. Did you, Tom, did you ever get a chance to see them at all live?
No. Well, I saw Paul McCartney around 19. When I was still working, we had tickets to the Bulls. Okay. And so at the United Center. Right. And so if they were going to be doing any concerts there, since we were holders of the Bulls tickets, they would give us first bid on the United Center tickets. So the first time McCartney came, I think was 2002, I got the tickets to go, and it was great. I mean, I had really good seats because we had good company seats. And then about 2 or 3 years later, I went to see the Ringo Starr All-Star Band.
What a great concept that was for Ringo to do.
At the Rosemont Theater. So this is a really small venue.
Right.
And he had a fantastic band with him. He had Ian Hunter from Mott the Hoople.
One of my favorite singers of all time. Yeah.
Great. He had Roger Hodgson from
Supertramp.
He had Howard Jones, the keyboard player.
Yeah.
Sheila E., the drummer.
Did he still have Joe Walsh with him? Joe Walsh was still with him, right?
No, Joe Walsh was Greg Lake from Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Greg Lake, okay, yeah.
I'll tell you what, he took, Ringo singing most of the crappy Beatles songs. I mean, really. I mean, the only one I like you know what? I kind of like Octopus's Garden now, because it's one of the few songs that Ringo wrote.
Actually wrote. But wait a minute, I liked
a little help from your friend.
I like Don't Pass Me By from the White Album. I thought that was cool. I mean, I like Dr. Robert. I liked Act Naturally. It was a cover of Buck Owens' songs. I thought he did pretty good with that.
I didn't think he sang Dr. Robert. I think that's Lennon singing, isn't it? Is it Ringo?
I thought it was Ringo, but it could be wrong.
I think it's Lennon.
Maybe it is Lennon. Okay.
But anyway,
yeah.
That night, though, I'll tell you what took the house down at that concert. It was when Ian Hunter got up and sang All the Young Dudes. Now, that's a David Bowie song.
Correct.
It just took the house down. Oh, fantastic concert. And I did want to go see him again, but I haven't been able to. I do want to go see Ringo again.
I want to see Ringo again. I wanted to see him when he was with Eric Carmen, my favorite singer-songwriter of all time from the Raspberries.
He just passed away.
He was one of the best. He just passed away. I know he was on the tour with Ringo. But what an idea that Ringo had. And you know what, guys? I don't care what anybody says, but Ringo had more number one hits, I think, as a solo artist, maybe even closer to Paul. I mean, when that first record he came out,
Really?
it was called Ringo with You're 16, Photograph, written
Photograph.
by George Harrison. No song. It Don't Come Easy. He had some good stuff. And the first people thought that Ringo was going to be a flop once the
Right.
Beatles broke up. And that first album, I Am the Greatest, the first song written by John Lennon. Actually, John's playing with him on the record.
Right.
It was fantastic, and he did
But
pretty well for himself.
they thought he was going to be a flop because he's not a songwriter.
Correct.
And he was never really a singer for the band either,
No,
because he
correct.
wasn't writing the songs.
Right.
So, and he still hasn't been really a writer. Most of the stuff he does, people are given to him.
Correct. And I mean, I still buy every one of his records that he puts out, good or bad. I just bought the brand new one. Here it is,
Oh.
Crooked Boy by Ringo. And actually, Albert gave me this one, but it's only got 4 songs on it. But
Right.
I mean, I love Ringo solo stuff. I always have. And then George Harrison. But you know what? I loved Paul McCartney, Wings, with Denny Lane. I thought they were what an idea. He went from one group, super group, to another super group. They were huge when they came out.
Go and see One Hand Clapping. Now, initially, I didn't even want to go and see it. My girlfriend went and bought the tickets. We went to the theater. I thought it was kind of a rip because the film is only about 67 minutes long.
Okay.
And they're charging regular price to get in. And I thought that, we'll just wait till it comes out on Disney or whatever. But my girlfriend went and bought the tickets anyway. We went. The music was fantastic. And at the very beginning of the show, at the movie, Paul today comes out and says exactly what they were doing, and that they were in the studio at Abbey Road, and that he looked upon it with great feeling because 3 of the people that were in the band are dead. It was Linda and Jimmy McCullough, and Denny Lane had just died too.
Who just passed away too,
gone.
yeah.
Jeff Britton is the only one left. He's a drummer with Wings at that time.
Yeah.
And so he came out and said that it was great. The film quality was terrible, though. It was just terrible film quality. They didn't do anything to make it better. The music was great, though. Maybe I'm Amazed, Jet. I don't know. I listed it. I did a commentary on it on the Facebook page of what you saw.
Yeah, right.
And I just, because the Get Back film in 3 segments on Disney was such fantastic film quality.
Absolutely.
Along with all of the music and them actually making the music in the studio, which was great. So, I mean, it didn't really compare to that at all. But I said also on the Facebook page that the very end was fantastic because Paul took an acoustic guitar in the back of Apple Studios. He was like in a garden, and he was playing Buddy Holly, and he was playing Eddie Cochran. And, so he was, going back and playing all this stuff, and he was playing on an acoustic guitar. And you never see him, when he's playing with the Beatles or even when he's playing with Wings. He's playing the bass, or he's on the keyboards.
Piano. Yeah.
So this was fantastic. And he's a heck of a guitar player. And you can see it. So, I mean, if anybody gets a chance, you should go and check it out. One Hand Clapping. I think it still is at the theaters.
Well, yeah, that's something we definitely have to look at. And we talked about before the show went live, Anthology that was put out by George, Ringo, and Paul. I think it was produced by I think Jeff Lynne had something to do with helping that. I mean, Jeff Lynne could have easily stepped in for John Lennon if they were to do anything, because Jeff Lynne is all ELO, is all Beatles anyway. But
agreed.
If John was still alive, I think, Tom, in your opinion again, would he have took part in Anthology, and you think they would have done a concert?
froze up on me.
Yeah, you did froze, but now you're back. It
You
seems like, yeah.
You froze up on me for a minute. You're good now.
Yeah, you did too. So we're okay. Good, back. So the question was, if John Lennon was still alive, would he have took part in Anthology, and would have they done a live concert? You think?
I think they would have. Yeah, I think that they would have come back together for like something like what's going on today, having a natural disaster and
Yeah.
North Carolina. And I think they would have come back to do a big fundraiser. I think that they would have done stuff like that.
Something. But then the large, I mean, I'm sorry, Free as a Bird did nothing for me. But Real Love did, just because it was John, and it was like from an old cassette that Yoko gave him supposedly, and they finished that up. Do you think, Tom, that there's any other Beatle unreleased stuff that nobody's heard? You think they're waiting on something, or they released everything?
It's possible. I think they're always trying to unearth something new, some old recording that they got in the studio. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, even though they said this is the last one. Nothing would surprise me to make more money.
To make more money. And then, of course, mostly anything the Beatles did, to be totally honest, we have another two great Beatle fans watching right now. Nick Sahajas. John would have definitely been part of Anthology. He was the biggest Beatle fan around. When he got older, he bought a lot of the Beatle. That's true. He bought all the Beatle stuff. Albert says no. He was George's friend. Okay, so I don't know if that was the question, but I know that the two giant, Nick Sahajas, the piano man, fantastic entertainer, and Albert Ronald.
And by the way, I wanted to say hi to Dennis from Florida. I miss you up in Wisconsin, Dennis.
Dennis Candish. There you go, buddy. Candish from pronouncing it wrong.
And a hello to Joe and Debbie Cibertoli. They said hi to me on here too.
Very cool.
Old dance friends.
There you go. We'll talk a little bit about your dancing too. But the thing I was going to say is, with the Anthology, it would have been fantastic. But everything the Beatles did, from their first album to their last, was anything they touched went to gold, except one project, and it was called Magical Mystery Tour. Even though the movie was lousy, they had a good soundtrack, but the movie was lousy. That was all Paul. You could tell the other guys didn't want anything to do with it. And thank God they redeemed themselves with Yellow Submarine, even though they weren't in it, just at the very end. Good musical soundtrack as well.
Yeah, but I liked some of the songs on Magical Mystery Tour. I like the theme song. I love the theme song.
I like the music, but the movie was brutal. I mean, right?
Yeah, the movie wasn't any good.
It had to be the first time that it didn't come out to be number one. And that must have, I mean, do you imagine being a band and everything comes out, goes number one your whole career? And then one thing like this came along, and then Yellow Submarine I thought was fantastic too. We're talking Tom Zappa, folks. We are talking Beatles, baby. That's what it's about. So it's also time for another commercial break, and that's our good friends from Jack Vena Landscaping. You got to love them, folks. Servicing the construction and diesel engine. They offer monthly maintenance programs, bush trimming, fall cleanup, bed mulching, fertilizing, weed control. They offer plant design, service, and installation, fall gutter cleaning, and they've been servicing the North Shore for 44 years. Highland Park, Highwood, etc., etc. My good buddy Tommy Vena, 847-432-5266. And let's not forget also now, because the winter is coming. The winter's coming, fall is coming. You're going to go get some new windows, Airtight Windows. If you're looking for new windows and you want it done right, do it right with Airtight. For honesty, quality, dependability, do it right with Airtight. Serving Chicagoland area for 35 years. Do it right with Airtight Windows. Call Louis Pipes at 708-788-5000. Tell them Tony O sent you, and they'll be help you out. That's Airtight Windows. You're watching Ocean's Pit, little show about big things, Monday to Friday at noon. Tom Zappa is our guest, folks. We are talking Beatles, and when you talk Beatles, man, got to be the best band ever. But there's a lot of people I know out there, Tom, that do not like the Beatles, believe it or
That's
not.
true. Yeah,
There's some
I
people that
I
do not like
agree.
them. They say they're overrated. They just made it because the right place, right time. Um,
Well,
interesting
I
stuff.
think that part is true. It was right place, right time. But I think the catalog of music speaks for
Speaks for
itself.
itself.
I
Got it.
love it.
Let's talk real fast about Beetle Fest. Have you been to any of those?
I've never been to a Beatle Fest. I was thinking about it. I usually don't like really big crowds, to be honest. So
Well, I think
I've
when they
never been to
first did
one.
it, when they first did it, when it first came out, they still had some guys. Now I know Albert goes every year, and I know we got Mel Lennon Reed from New Jersey. Now she's in Metropolis, Illinois, home of Superman. Anyway, they're diehard Beatle fans. Her fiance is in a Beatle tribute act, who plays John. But I'm trying to say that, and now I think Albert goes all the time, and now they got the guy who cleaned John Lennon's house toilet is one of the guests. I mean, they're running out of people. I mean, Billy J. Kramer, Mark Hudson's still there,
Right.
Joey Molland from Badfinger, one of my other favorite bands.
Love
It's an
Badfinger.
interesting story, but I don't think, and I think I asked Albert, maybe I didn't, or maybe Nick, if Nick is watching too. Did any of the Beatles, I wonder, have ever been to a Beatle Fest? I'm not sure if they have. The one when they were alive.
I'm
Not
not
quite
sure.
sure. Yeah,
I don't know.
or if any of the sons, as Julian or Sean, been
That would
or
surprise me.
I'm surprised though, and I'm surprised that even and Albert said no. Here's another thing that surprises me too, Tom. What do you think about this? I know the All Star Band is touring right now. If they happen to go again next year, if they do it again, why has Ringo not brought in Sean or Julian to the All Star Band?
Well, I think the main reason, Julian has had a couple of hits on his own.
On his own.
Usually he will only bring somebody on if they've had about 3 major hits. And I don't think
Okay, but couldn't Julian come on and do his dad's songs?
well, no,
Come on.
he certainly could. And even Danny Harrison.
Yeah.
Danny Harrison too.
I mean, you
But
look at him. Do you look at him when they did the tribute to George? Oh my God! It looked like it was George from 1964. I mean,
no, he
holy
does.
cow!
Spit
Wait.
memories.
Albert said Cynthia Lennon was at Beatle Fest. Yoko has actually been to Beatle Fest. Well, very good, Albert. Good.
Okay.
Good to know that stuff.
All right.
John used to donate things to auction to the fest for Beatle fans. Okay, so they liked it. They enjoyed. Do you know Ron McLean? No, Mel. I do not know Ron McNeil from the Fab Four, but that was my other topic. What do you think of the tribute acts out there, Tom?
Well, I've always liked American English. I mean, they're the one that's around here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've seen them several times over the years, like I've seen your shows. I mean, I just enjoy, I enjoy going to your show, but
Well,
I
thank you.
enjoy going to see American English too. Now, I own a place up in Delavan, Wisconsin, and I'm up there all the time.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Every year they have like concerts in the park,
Right.
like every Saturday throughout the summer. And every year they have a Beatle band from Milwaukee that comes there,
Okay.
and they're great. I mean, they are great. They're just as good as American English, as far as
Right.
And they've
Well,
been
there's a
together.
lot of them out there. The Fab Four is
Right.
great. Liverpool 8 or whatever it's called. Liverpool is good. What's the one I forgot that was actually managed by or was at one time managed by John? Is it John Lennon or George Harrison's sister? Liverpool Legends. Thank you. Liverpool
Okay.
Legends.
All right.
That was managed by George Harrison's sister, who actually, I think, wasn't she live in like St. Charles or something?
No, the sister lives like in Southern Illinois.
Oh, yeah, Southern Illinois.
And-
Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
In fact, I can't remember the town, but whenever I drive down to Nashville, I'm always going down Route 57, and I think the sister might have just died actually.
Yeah, I
but
think she did too. I think she did too.
she lived like maybe an hour and a half south of Champaign. Like if you
Okay.
took 57 straight
All
down.
right. All right.
And I guess when George was on tour with the Beatles back in '63, he went there and he
Right. That's
visited
right.
with the
Right.
sister.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. I heard that great story. Um, Talking about Beatles with Tom Zappa, folks, it's just interesting stuff. If John was still alive and George was still alive, what kind of music do you think they would be writing, solo artist wise?
great music. I
I'm
think it'd
hoping.
be,
I'm hoping. I mean, when John Lennon's last record, of course, starting over, a lot of
that
people.
was
I
a
thought it was
great song.
a
Great
great
song.
album. I thought it was a great album.
Yes.
People said it went to number one because he died. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I think it was great. I've got all of Lennon's solo projects. Walls and Bridges was pretty. Mind Games. You can't beat that song. But
That's a
like I said, Harrison
great
had
album.
great album, and Harrison had an incredible, like we said, solo thing. What do you think? I mean, there's so many things about who broke up the Beatles, and it all goes to Yoko Ono, which I think is a bunch of crap.
No,
I think it's a bunch of
initially,
crap.
I do too. Initially, I thought, well, I think that might have been one of the factors.
But wait a minute,
But
wait a
I
minute.
think the
John, for the first time in his life, was happy with Yoko. He was
right,
happy, and you know what? I mean, you can't. And she's there supporting her man, and that's what she did. Now, obviously, they were together all the time. I'm sure it drove the other three crazy, but I don't. I think they were on the verge to breaking up anyway. Paul and John were
yes,
definitely going their own way.
yeah, and George too, because they wouldn't let George incorporate any of his music into the albums, and
And yeah, and
everything on all things must pass would have been a Beatles song
correct,
if
correct.
John and Paul would have let him.
Let him.
And
And it's
those
funny
were
that the only one that quit the band actually walked out and quit was Ringo. Hell with
well,
you guys. I'm
but
gone. I'm out of here.
George did too for a
Yeah.
few days back
Yes.
during the Get Back sessions.
Right. But I mean, for Ringo to say, he doesn't have any songs, anything. I'm leaving. Goodbye. And, they
Right.
wanted him back. It wasn't the same. And that's what got them during that big fighting. They had to get back together to record one last time. And I think that's why Abbey Road became such an incredible album because they knew
Great
it was
album.
a last. And Let It Be, I didn't care much for that album. And they had a couple good songs. Two of Us.
I agree. I agree, but actually, I think Abbey Road was recorded before Let It Be, but it was
Correct.
released after Let It Be.
Correct.
And but Let It Be is not one of my favorite Beatle albums.
Me album.
Even
I like the
though-
cover. I like the cover. It's cool. Yeah.
Even though those were all the songs during the rooftop concert.
Correct. What about
Those
what
were
was your
all the
opinion, Tom? Albert, it was John who officially made the first move to quit. That is true. John was the first one to actually do it, and Paul was the first one to come out with that solo record afterwards. But what was your thoughts on the White Album? I remember getting it when I was a kid. I used to do. Beatles was my thing. So when I did a good chore, if I didn't get in trouble in school, every week my dad would take me to Corvettes in Cicero, Berwyn, and buy me the new a new Beatle record. So I'd start from the first one and get one every week. I remember buying the White Album, getting it
Great
home,
piece of music.
take
Great
the
piece of
plastic
music.
off, and you get the poster and those four
Right.
individual pictures. And it was like, wow. And then, to me, boy, it was big. It was just fantastic.
Great piece of music. I love a lot of the songs on there. Back in the USSR, Glass Onion, Julia, Savoy Truffle, a Harrison song.
Great.
It was
I
written-
loved I Will. I thought I Will was great. Typical old Beatles tune. I even like Ringo Starr singing Good Night at the end. It was sad.
Oh, great tune. Yes.
Wasn't it a
Yes.
great tune? And I
Right.
still, when they still did Long and Winding Road, the song, I just feel that was about them. It was, it led us to tears, and I still cry when I think about Paul singing that song. I'm not a McCartney fan, but just thinking of knowing that this was the end, and they really did love each other. I mean, even though, but it got pretty
I think so,
brutal.
too.
They got pretty brutal at the end with all that crazy, the lawsuits and everything, and Robert Kleiner coming in, and he saved a lot of money for the Stones, but then I don't know with the Beatles. Guys, I don't know. It's crazy. We only got about 5 minutes left. One other thing, Tom, you were a dancer, but let me go back. I think I met you, Tom, when Andy Trippy was in our band. Didn't you used to come around sometimes when Trippy was our drummer?
Well, I first met Andy when he was playing with Rick Lindy.
Rick Lindy, yes.
But I know Andy and Olivia well.
Good
Good
people.
people.
And Olivia, remember, it was Mrs. Jones on my fifth
Right,
CD.
I
That's
remember.
right. That's right.
In fact, Olivia's mom was good friends with my parents when they were still living. They
There
used
you
to
go.
go dancing together.
Yeah, and you're dancing, very cool. You did that, and you said I remember Jilly's in Naperville, which
I went to your first show there.
I
when
remember.
They first opened.
Yeah, I remember it used to be a lot. Then they switched it to a sports bar and it changed it all. Crazy as it is. One of the questions I'm going to say: do you think why isn't one of the Beatle kids maybe recorded? Wouldn't it be cool if we get all four of them together and just remake the Beatles songs, just one album, put them out, and that would be huge to see Zach and Danny, like you said, and Julian and Sean and what's his name from McCartney's, just to say thank you to our dads, and people would eat that up.
It would be interesting, but I don't know if it'd be very good. I mean, I'm being honest. I don't know. I just don't.
I'm going to tell you an album that nobody's the great Beatle album that never was released. It was by a group called the Ruddles. Have you ever seen that, Tom? The Ruddles with Eric Idle. That two soundtracks of great songs. I mean, all they did was change a couple notes and they changed a couple words. Instead of Yellow Submarine, it's Yellow Submarine Sandwich. I mean, I Must Be in Love. You got to listen to this guy, Neil. I forgot his name. The guy who wrote.
Yeah, they've been on the Fab Forum. So
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about them because I listened to that on Saturdays.
You got to download the records, and there was a TV
Will
movie
do.
called All About Cash. It was a story of the Ruddles, and George plays a reporter, George Harrison. Ronnie Wood plays. I mean, it's very, very funny. The Ruddles, good stuff. They don't want to be compared to their dads. I'm not saying to be compared to their dads, Albert. I understand that, but just to say, hey, this is thank you. It's just like just make pick 8 songs, 9 songs, and just do a little promo video and singing thank you dads and whatever, and people would love it, I think, anyway. I mean,
Julian had a couple of big hits.
Yeah.
And he sounds remarkably a lot like John.
Tom, you heard the story when he sent the record out to the record company. It was in a brown paper bag. And he did not put it was Julian Lennon to record companies. People thought they had the long lost John Lennon record, and then they found out it was his son Julian. So very cool. Welcome Ron McNeil. So Ron, if you're watching, welcome to Ocean Spit from the band the Fab Four. Love Beatle tribute band. So very, very cool. My good friend Tom Zappa's in town. Here on Ocean Spit, little show about big things, folks. Let's not forget our newest sponsor to Ocean Spit. Remember, the show is on Monday through Friday at noon, and we want to thank our brand new sponsor. That's right, folks. You want to eat healthy, you want to do it right. It's called Guzman and Gomez. That's right. Our son Joe's a regional marketing manager with Guzman and Gomez. GYG is reinventing fast food for making it healthy, clean, and enjoyable. There's no added preservatives, no artificial flavors or colors, no unacceptable adjectives. Come in and try their burritos, taco bowls, salads. They even have a burrito replacing the rice for French fries. It's a great deal, folks. Keep in mind for fundraisers, catering, and more, download the GYG app and get a free burrito. Locations in Crystal Lake, Schaumburg, Buffalo Grove, and Naperville. You can call Joe at 224-636-3646. It's Guzman and Gomez, eating healthy the right way, fast food side, which is good. I think a lot of people start to do that now. Anyway, we are coming to the end of the hour, and we talking Beatles, and we know, are they the greatest band ever in the world? I don't know. They had incredible songs. They had incredible every song. I mean, what do you think the worst Beatles song was?
You know,
if you had
I have never liked Eleanor Rigby, so that's
okay.
Me.
All right, okay, but Eleanor Rigby did very well. I'm talking about some of their B cuts. Getting to take the dogs for a walk, Ron. What I'd love to get you on the show too, Ron. Ron from the Fab Four is watching. Ocean's Pit, little show about big things, brought to you by Ace Hardware here in Chicago, Illinois. Also, yeah, I mean, some of their backtracks, some of the stuff on White Album was Piggies. Were you a Piggies fan? I mean,
I like stuff like that.
Blackbird.
I like stuff like what I liked from McCartney was stuff like Teddy Boy, and then he did it on his own.
Teddy Boy, yeah. One of my favorite Beatles songs. Yeah, my favorite Beatles song. I mean, I love Anytime at All. God, what a great album. I Cry Instead, Anytime at All.
All great tunes.
All great tunes.
If you ask me, push to shove, my favorite Beatles song is I Saw Her Standing There. I love
There you go. I mean, it's a classic. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. Guys, we are coming to the end of the hour. What's going to tell you a couple other things we got coming up. November 1st and 2nd will be in Louisiana Downs. For anybody that loves that casino stuff, on the 13th November, we're at the Tivoli Theater with Rick Lindy and the Wild Ones. It's Ocean's Rat Pack and Rick Lindy at the Tivoli Theater in Downers Grove. November 13th will be at Premier Wine and Spirits. Saturday the 19th, which is in Salem, Wisconsin, which is right over the border. It's a brand new speakeasy right near Kenosha and Bristol. It's called Premier Wine and Spirits. We're going to be there on the 19th of this month, which is next Saturday. Also, don't forget, we'll be at the Grand Ole Opry on the 27th of October, the Josie Awards. I'm excited about that. And don't forget now, Rocking St. Jude's happening at the Arcada Theater November 24th. It's all the money and everything goes for St. Jude's. Nick Sahajas, the piano man, and Phyllis put this thing together. And this year of the acts are going to be fantastic. It's Heart to Heartbreaker, Diva Montel and Jerry doing a tribute to Pat Benatar and Heart. Ocean's Rat Pack, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, Sammy. We got Neil. We got Nick Sahajas, piano man, tribute to Billy Joel and Elton John, and American English will be there. Now, you can get tickets, folks. It's important to go. But you can another way of doing it too, folks. Now, Wednesday, if you come back on Wednesday, folks, we're giving away 2 more tickets to the show. It's the last 2 tickets. We gave away 8 tickets already, and we're giving away 2 more tickets for a trivia question. If you tune in this Wednesday coming up, we're going to give away the last pair of tickets, Rockin' St. Jude's. But if you don't want to drive to St. Charles, you want to make a whole day out of it, my good friend here, Carl Doty's putting together a bus trip. Listen to this, folks. You're going to meet at the Melrose Park Civic Center at 11 o'clock. They're going to give you continental breakfast. You're going to enjoy breakfast. They're going to keep you in the bus. They're going to take you to the gig. You're also going to get the free ticket. And you're going to get a ride back, folks. It's that simple. $75 a person gives you the breakfast, a trip there and back, and the ticket to get into the event. Call Carl Doty at 224-600-0333 and get on that thing. There's only 10 seats left. 10 seats left for Rockin' St. Jude's, guys. And don't forget, this Monday, we'll be at the Columbus Day Parade. We'll be on the Tony Ocean Float, brought to you by Crash Champions, Deutsch Power Center, Postatanos from Oakbrook Frank, and Armando Supermarkets. We got to go, but before we go, a couple more things, Tom, before you leave. Let's not we got birthdays. Friday birthdays. Here they are coming up October 11th. We talked a little longer. I'm sorry, folks, because when we talk Beatles, I can talk all day. Richard Klein from Three's Company turns 80 years old. Donnie Most from Ralph Malph from Happy Days, 71. Speaking of a great dancer, Ben Vereen turned 78 years old. Paul Michael Glazer, Starsky and Hutch, 81 years old. Scott Bakula, 70 years old. CJ Ramone, one of my favorite bands, the Ramones, celebrate. Ally McGraw, the wife of former wife of
Steve
course,
McQueen.
75. Alistair Slim, great fucking actor. And Scrooge, probably the best Ebenezer Scrooge out there. Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster turned 71 years old.
Wow.
My friend Denise Tomasello, an incredible singer in the Chicagoland area, her ex-husband Don, passing away. Happy birthday. Jackson Brown turned 76. John Schneider, 64. Dukes of Hazzard. Eddie Guerrero, for all you wrestling fans. Richard, celebrating a birthday. Michael Manson, one of the best character actors around, 67. He was on our show.
Sure.
David Lee Roth, the worst piece of trash. Never liked him. 70 years old.
I like Sammy Hagar better.
I love Van Hagar better than Van Halen.
Me
Absolutely. Too. Anthony Napolitano, one of the great drummers in Chicago. Anthony, happy birthday. Brett Favre used to be with the Green Bay Packers, celebrating a birthday, 55 years old. Guys, we got to go. I want to first thank my good friend Tom Zappa for coming on and giving us time talking about Beatles. We got to love them. And let's get last but not least, Ace Hardware. Ace is the place. Buy local, shop local, support local establishments like Ace Hardware. Download the Ace Rewards app. Easy way to keep track of your points, coupons, and special offers. Ace is the place, helping neighbors before they were neighborhoods. Guys, tonight, Chicago Prime Steakhouse, 8 o'clock. Tomorrow, the main event band will be at Ron Onesti's Club Arcada Speakeasy in St. Charles, 8:30. Sunday, we'll be at the Royal Palace Theater in Joliet with Ocean's Rat Pack. And Sunday, ABC, 12 o'clock, we'll be live with the Tony Ocean Float on the Columbus Day Parade with the Grand Marshal, Paul Anka. And
cool.
see Frankie Valli might be there too. Rumor has it.
Cool.
Guys, we got to go. Remember a couple things. Buy local, shop local. Support local establishments. Support live entertainment. Be kind to everybody. Life, it's really crazy world out there. And get off your ass and vote. It's that simple. Vote. Not take the paper ballot that you get in the mail, rip it up, throw it out. My dad got 5. He's been dead 25 years. Okay? Go to the polls. Bring your friends and family with you. Vote, 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 vote. We need to make a change. Got to make America great again. And the great words of Ringo Starr, peace and love. Thank you so much, Tom. Have a great weekend. Guys,
thanks,
everybody,
Tony.
God bless you. See you live on Monday. Ocean Spit from the Columbus Day Parade. Nick Sahajas, the piano man. Take us out. Bye-bye.
It's the end of the show. See you later from town.